There's an estimated $1.7 trillion in lost or forgotten 401ks. And while I want you to avoid that fate, and I'm going to show you what to do just to make sure you don't have anything floating out there, there's an interesting follow-up question. How did those abandoned or lost 401ks perform compared to the ones that are not lost? I've got some interesting takeaways on that and more coming up. One of the biggest dangers when leaving an old employer is leaving the old 401k behind at that old employer. I know it's easy to do. You don't want to make a mistake. I won't lose track of it. I'm just going to leave it there until it's clear what I should do with it. Well, guys, you're just one event away from losing track of those dollars completely, or better yet, them losing track of you. No one ever sets out to lose track of dollars, but like I said, recent report shows $1.7 trillion of lost or forgotten 401k dollars. If you move, if you change your email address, if you change your phone number, if the company that you used to work for gets bought out, if the old 401k that the company had gets bought out and they switch companies, there's just a litany of reasons how just one little event can separate you from those dollars. And I don't want that to happen to you. So what do you do to make sure that you don't lose track of an old 401k? Well, making sure that as you switch employers from an old employer to a new employer, you look at rolling that old 401k over to a new IRA or to a Roth IRA, whichever is appropriate for your situation, or rolling it into your new plan if they've got robust investment options available. Work with your certified financial planner on that. Now, if you think, well, I don't know, I might have some old abandoned dollars out there. What should I do? Where could I check? Take a look at this, and I've included a link in the description below just so you have these links directly as well. But there's 3 sites that you can go to, and you can plug in just a little bit of your personal information that can sort of scan a database and see if there's anything out there for you. So National Registry of Unclaimed Retirement Benefits, Retirement Savings Lost and Found database, as well as the Missing Money. You can click any of those, put in some information, make sure you don't have anything left out there. And if so, you can go through the process through each of them to reclaim those dollars and get those to their rightful place. Now to the interesting part. There is a well-known observation, although the data is not out there. I cannot find it anywhere, but there is a well-known observation that these abandoned or lost 401ks outperform 401ks that are not lost and abandoned, suggesting that 401ks that really never get tampered with, where there isn't someone frequently taking a look and how's it performing? Do I need to make any adjustments? Tend to outperform the ones where maybe you check in on a regular basis. Maybe you're tempted to make adjustments either when things are going well or when things are feeling in crisis or really off the rails. The ones that are abandoned and go untouched tend to outperform those that don't, that tend to be observed and frequently checked. Now, I've looked all over the place. If you can find the original study, apparently it was done by Fidelity back, just about 10 years or so ago. If you can find it, I would please share it in the comments below. I'd love to review it. It's cited in many different areas, but behavioral finance sort of supports the notion that the more frequently you go in and tinker with your investments, it does have a drag on your long-term performance. So how can you apply the principles to receive the benefits that lead to that outperformance that maybe a lost or forgotten 401k would have over one that's not lost or forgotten? How can you apply the principles that would lead to that outperformance with obviously not needing to go out and lose dollars? Well, there's a few that I would point out. First is to set up guardrails or set up rules on when you're going to go in and look at your investments and rules on how frequently you'll go in and make adjustments. This is a rules-based system. And it might sound a little silly, but I have seen it work. We've seen it work very, very successfully for a lot of folks. And in some ways, that's what we follow with our clients here, although not very, not on a rigid basis. We're reviewing the models that we manage and the allocations we manage for our clients on an ongoing basis. However, The rules-based approach, and I'll give you the most common example from my co-host of the Wise Money Show, one of my business partners, Josh Gregory. He shared that for his own personal financial situation, and he recommends clients do this as well, he looks at his investments 2 times a year. That's it. He doesn't log into his 401k when he's curious. He doesn't check out balances. He doesn't whatever. He checks his investments only 2 times a year. And during those 2 times a year, that's when he also gives himself the license to say, yep, if I need to make a rebalance or I need to make any adjustments, I'll only do it during those times. He does that first week of the year in January and the first week of the year in July. And that's it. So whether we're seeing a COVID crisis or a tariff tantrum or a great financial crisis in the fall, Josh doesn't look. And therefore, you avoid the potential knee-jerk reaction that can come when you say, no, I'm looking at my investments. Oh, something's going on. I need to make a change. Following a rules-based system can really help you, again, apply the principles that would contribute to long-term outperformance compared to those of us that look more frequently without needing to kind of go through and actually abandon those dollars. How frequently, you asked, if you are going to implement a rules-based system? I like 2 times a year. 1 time a year can also work as well. And then when you do give yourself the license to make changes, I would avoid making huge cosmic shifts. Instead, just doing minor tweaks and little rebalances, which leads to the second principle. Avoid following the crowd. This is a big, big investment risk when it comes to your 401k. Things are a little bit different now because pretty much every 401k you can log in online, but it used to be when you'd get your quarterly statement or your monthly statement on your 401k, the front page would be your summary. Here's the total amount that you have invested and maybe a little breakdown of here's where you started the quarter, or here's how much you contributed, here's where you ended. And then if you flip to the next page, typically the second page has a little bit more information on your contributions and that sort of stuff. Typically it's page 3. And you'll know it when I say it. It's just a list of this investment option, how it performed, this investment option, how it performed, this investment option, how did it perform. Kind of looks like the matrix. All your investment choices within the 401k, the 3-month performance, the year-to-date performance, the 1-year performance, the 3-year performance, 5 years, 10 years, and it's just a bunch of numbers. And what it would lead a lot of people do if you didn't have a disciplined structure of asset allocation and diversified portfolio and the conviction around it, oftentimes when people would get their statements, they'd flip to that page and say, well, what's done well recently? I own some of these investments that haven't performed well recently. I need to get out of those and get into these others that have done well recently. And what it led to is this consistently sort of chasing your tail. Instead of staying diversified, because staying diversified, not having all your eggs in one basket, some of those baskets are going to move in different directions at different times and certainly at different magnitudes. And it doesn't mean that, well, if one over the past year was up 15%, but the other was only up 10, well, that the one that was up 10 is a bad investment. And the one that was up 15 was a good investment. It's very possible that the one that was up 15 really should have been up 20. And that was a fund that was underperforming, but the category that it was in caused it to perform that way. So I would avoid the temptation of when you do log in and review your 401k to take a look at each and every fund to see which one did well, which one didn't on a relative basis and make a big, a bunch of changes. I call that following the crowd. Very, very tempting to do within your 401k. Have a disciplined, diversified mix instead. And then the third principle, have a mantra during financial crisis. Have a mantra during financial crisis. What do I mean? And I mean, the most clear example is we stay the course. We stay the course. One of my favorite stories of this is a client that we've been serving for, 15 years now or so. And when I first met him, very, very friendly and joyful and kind of just a big personality kind of guy. And we were talking about overall investment philosophy. I was getting to know him and he shared that he learned about investing from his uncle, and his uncle would tell him, we stay the course. We always stay the course. And that was the mantra. And so he sort of built this part of his personality that whenever markets are going a little, there's a little turmoil, he just sort of repeats it to himself. And if we have a meeting during that time, he just tells me, oh, no, we stay the course. We stay the course. And so having some sort of pep talk or having some sort of mantra when the emotions are really, really dragging on you because the stock market has performed, down 15% in the past few weeks or down 20% this year, something like that, which is inevitably going to happen. As an investor, that is a feature of investing. It's not a bug. That is a feature. Are you going to like it? No. Does anyone like it? No. Does it create buying opportunities? Absolutely. And over the long course, have markets always come back? Yes, they have. So having a mantra, especially when the sun is shining and everything seems great, to have yourself, give yourself that mantra or that pep talk. Hey, when that volatility strikes, we're buying shares, not dollars. We're buying shares, not dollars. So focus on building more shares, acquiring more shares, as opposed to focusing on the dollar amount. Or we stay the course, or something like that. Find that mantra that will lead you through and lead you through those most trying times as an investor. That can help be a principle you apply so that you get the benefits from that come from not touching your investments that much, as opposed to a drag that studies have found. So those are 3 principles, again, to help you reach the long-term performance, the potential that your investment portfolio can have. One of the sayings we have around here is investing is like a bar of soap. The more frequently you handle it, the less of it you have. And this well-known study, this well-known observation is certainly credence to that. So apply those 3 principles, but more so, make sure you've got a well-rounded, diversified investment strategy that fits within your financial plan, your financial goals, even a strategy of strategies where you're diversifying and holding multiple strategies, all to help reach your financial goals. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.